Canadians are generally a pretty educated people. When you have a pretty long winter, you only have so many ways you can sort of pass the time. I mean, in Calgary the snow usually falls in October and it can still be there in May, which really forces you to occupy your time when it's cold outside for that long. Which is a pretty big reason why my dad Stu's promotion Stampede Wrestling was always a pretty good draw during the winter. My dad Stu used to say heat is what keeps Canadians warm on the winter prairies, which is just sort of an old school shooter's way of saying that wrestling was a solid entertainment draw given the circumstances. I mean, Albertans didn't have a lot of opportunities to get out of the house and really cheer for something most of the time during winter. I mean, yeah, they'd have the Oilers and the Flames, but usually they'd only add to the winter blues, you knowed. I was never much of a student growing up. In school I always did okay, and had a pretty good mind for the subjects. I was a pretty athletic kid who could always sort of get by. My teacher knew I was a pretty hard worker, and they'd often pair me with students who maybe weren't the best workers, but they knew I could get them that passing grade. The other students knew when they worked on a project with me that they'd pass, and that their grad would be safe. Which I took a lot of pride in even at a younger age. Though when I'd get asked to get up in front of class I'd really struggle to cut a promo. Finally my teacher noticed that I had a lot more confidence when I was outside on a sunny day kicking the ball around, or working a program on the playground and stretching the local kids on the monkey bars. My teacher pulled me aside one day and told me that when I had my sunglasses on I was a lot more confident, you know. He suggested that maybe I wear them next time I cut a class promo. It seemed pretty silly at the time, but it ended up really working. Wearing those glasses I'd get a lot of confidence, and could really sell whatever class project I was given. I remember by year's end my promos had gotten pretty over with the other students, and I'd be walking down the hallways slapping hands of the other students standing in front of their lockers. Otherwise the Hearts in general otherwise were never great students. You could build a solid underclass with them, but when it came to headlining a classroom the task sort of fell to me. Smith and Wayne were pretty forgettable students. Ellie and Diana were often more focused on dating the football captain than their studies. Owen would usually be off pulling some pranks. Bruce was a terrible student. He was so terrible that he got held back a few years. That was sort of the only way Bruce eventually held his own in school, is that when he was about 3 to 4 years older than his classmates. I think eventually that was the only environment that Bruce maybe felt confident in, and that's why he maybe became a teacher. He knew that he'd get more of a pop walking the school hallway than any other aisle in life.